Gonna gonna.
Guna fam, what's good? As you can see, I came back and now we're bringing all the residents slowly back into it. So I have Nqobile here and we're just going to discuss about, it's been a while, but I think the best thing to
Yeah,
discuss about is the last two games. But Nqobile, how's things? Long time, man. Hope you're keeping well.
yeah, man. I'm good, man. Arsenal's stressing me out a bit, but yeah, besides that, everything's going well, man.
The usual
Yeah,
stress, the
the
usual
usual.
Arsenal stress.
I don't even remember what happened 2 games ago.
I was going to say, well, we might as well kick into Leeds, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah, anyway.
I know what you mean. It's like some of the games you just want to forget once it's done.
Yeah.
A lot of them, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if we go into Leeds, man, like on the weekend, what was your take out of that game? I know it was a quite frustrating game, a lot of injuries.
Yeah, it was. And it's quite a, for me, after obviously, you go through the motions or and look, I think at the start of the game I was quite uh upset about how we were playing. Not upset, but disappointed because a lot of people have been calling out for the lineup that Arteta put out. I think was the lineup that a lot of people had been calling out for. Given obviously that yes, Partey was out, and then he was out, so you couldn't play any of those two. But if you look at the rest of the squad, maybe barring Bakayo Saka, but also he's got mitigating circumstances in terms of that he had also come back and played 3 games in a row. A lot of the people that played in that match, or people have been saying that, a lot of people looked at that squad and were like, "I'm excited to see this. Are we going back to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it?" And yeah, a lot of people have been crying out for that. So people are quite excited to see whether that will create or give us that creative spark in the middle, own those numbers in the middle for us to be able to create a lot more chances for the front man. A lot of people were happy also to see Aubameyang up front because they felt that he was being wasted out on the wing, and obviously with him shifting to the middle, he might get a lot more chances. And obviously, Lacazette had been quite wasteful with a few chances, even though he's also been getting quite a few chances. With the few chances he did get, he had been quite wasteful. So I think that's what caused a lot of people to be optimistic. But as the game as the game happened, look, we had a semi decentish start. I think maybe the first 10 minutes
Yeah.
we were okay. Um, but then after that, I think we were quite negative, and um, Leeds actually probably took the upper hand and took the ascendancy in the match, and then yeah, obviously we were happy to go into halftime. I think a lot of us were happy to go into halftime, obviously with 0-0, hoping that Arteta will lay into the boys. They'll come out now firing in the second half, and obviously they've because Leeds is a decent side. We do expect
Yeah.
them with the power and the pace and the intensity of the midfield to create problems for us, because especially since we are quite weak in the midfield department, and also out wide, they're also quite good. So they'd like to overload the wings and then uh, loft balls, also put balls into the box. And we know that that would require a lot of work from our right winger and our left winger. And we know that the personnel we usually have in there aren't really that good when it comes to the defensive aspects of the game. But anyway,
Mm,
we were happy to,
mm.
or I was, let me not say we. I was happy. I was kind of relieved. We went in at 0-0, looking forward
Yeah.
to the second half and saying, look, I think now probably the shackles will be off, and the guys will probably maybe try hold steady for the next 10, 15 minutes, and then after that, then start pushing maybe to sneak a goal or get a goal or two,
Yeah.
make some of the changes and bring on your Bakayo Sakas, etc., your Lacazettes if you need to try get that goal, and and grind out a victory away from home. But then obviously I think Pepe then did what he did.
Mm.
Um, and then after that, quite literally, it was just about trying to not concede. And at the end of the day, I honestly think that the results we got, given the circumstances, was a good result. The football was awful, and that's I think what's disappointing a lot of people, that even what they hoped they actually, a lot of people were still under the impression that the personnel we've got in the squad will be able to solve our creative problems. It's just that Arteta is not playing them. But then when we actually saw, and I don't know whether it's by Arteta's design or just purely because the personnel we don't have are not good enough, but what we actually saw is that the creativity problem, I think, is not just up to the formation or who Arteta's picking. I think the people we have in the squad don't really have that ability to find that key pass, to unlock a defense, to take the ball in the middle, beat a few men, thereby also creating space and then creating panic or chaos within the opposition ranks, and therefore creating chances. So, and
But is
yeah,
that, would
and
you say
look, I
that's
think
pretty much
I
sums
think
up? No, carry on, carry on.
so yeah, so and it's difficult, right? Because I think now there's two schools of thought, right? There's a school of thought that says that the personnel we have is not good, and obviously they also attribute the some of they attribute our tactical weakness some also to the coach. So they will say that the players we have are not good enough, and also the coach obviously is a bit of a novice, so he's not able to get. There's certain things that he's still trying to figure out, or still
Yeah,
not
yeah.
able to,
Mm.
to sort out. And you expect him to get better with time, just as with like a substitution. Sometimes the formation, his management. Sometimes he's still gonna make a lot of the errors. And then there's a flip side of which says that the coach is the problem. He sets up our players too negatively. Their mindset is too negative. They're more defensive orientated,
Mm.
and now they can't express themselves, and it's more out of fear of expressing. They have the ability, but they're just not used to expressing themselves, or they
Yeah.
fear expressing themselves, and they're more concerned about the repercussions of the mistakes they would make by trying to express themselves than the gains that they would get by expressing themselves, or the rewards of expressing themselves. I'm kind of more the first school of thought that I honestly don't think our players are good enough, to be quite honest, especially the creative players. Um, and yeah, especially our midfield,
Yes.
and yeah, and the mobility of our midfield is not there. Their creativity
No.
of our midfield is not there,
Mm.
And if you look up, and guys, and to be quite honest, if you come to me and say that you're expecting Joe Willock to create chances for us and be the key difference maker in an EPL match against Leeds away from home, I think you also, in my mind, you're quite you deluded.
Well, I
The kid
also
is
felt the
semi.
same, you know.
The kid is semi decent. He's still learning, but he's nowhere near the level that you need him to
Yeah, that he
be
has to be.
at the
And you
moment. He's
could see it
for
in
me. He's
that game, to be fair.
yeah, and the thing is that he's more, for me, he's more likely to have more games like that than the good games that he's had, like the one he
Europa
had
is his
against Wolves
place to
away
play.
and all that. So Europe, for me, Europe is more his level, and it also he's you are allowed to make a lot more mistakes in Europe. The
Yeah.
quality of position is not that good, and it's not going to be as apparent when you make mistakes, because there's going to be a lot more chances. You're going to
Yeah,
be on the
exactly.
ball a lot more, and you will get away
Because
with
with
some of those things.
EPL, you're
And
only moving forward 5 or 6 times and you got to make
yeah,
it.
with EPL, yeah, exactly. And with the squad and the way that we are playing in the EPL and the personnel we generally use in the
Mm.
EPL, you're not gonna get as many opportunities, because I think Arteta is more about being solid at the back, make sure you don't create, and then being able to break or creating a few chances, and he's reliant on those few chances that we have. Our strikers are lethal enough to finish.
Yeah.
With Arteta, to me, it seems like he thinks in his mind we'll probably only create 5 or 6 chances in a match. I
Mm.
expect my team to bury 2 of those, and that's it. And that's how we think. And he's like, no, as long as we don't concede, I'll park the bus and hope that with a few chances we get Aubameyang, and that's what Aubameyang has been doing since it's only now that obviously since
Yeah.
Aubameyang is not scoring, that now he can't rely on that game plan anymore. But if you actually look at how we've been playing since he joined, that's how we've played. So if you analyze, if you look at a lot of
Yeah,
the
that
of
is
the
true.
matches we played in the Arteta era, that's how we've been playing. It's just that now we're not scoring with the chances that we creating. It's not that now we've stopped creating chances. We weren't really creating
Mm.
chances to
Mm.
begin with.
Mm.
Now it's just purely that Aubameyang is not putting away the chances that he's getting. Or he's not even getting it. He's
Yeah.
not even getting into those positions
Service
for
as
him to
well.
put away. The chances are falling to other people, and they're not able to convert on those.
So then, like I know, like you touched on a few points, but I think the biggest part was throughout all the games building up to Leeds. Leeds just showed what we were missing in all the other games as well, the creativity aspect, and
Yeah,
obviously switching the players. Like Willock and Ceballos, for me, I felt played the same role, and it's so hard for them to kind of play together because they just get a bit confused. I think Xhaka did a bit better than normally; it was more defensive, but Willock and Ceballos, it was together they should be better. To be fair, they could be switching the 10 role, but we'll move on to that. But now we're not getting service, we're not getting creativity. So going forward, what kind of is going to be the solution? Who's going to be our player? Because as you said, we're only going to try take our chances. Our wing, I think they kind of
yeah,
figured out our long ball and wing back tactic. So now it's
yeah,
about actually getting the creative players to do something. Now, who steps up? Lacazette had a few chances. Aubameyang, okay, fair enough. He
yeah.
played in the middle. He looked a bit better. Well, where do we go now? What's our strategy for the next few games? Because we've got Wolves, then Tottenham. You know.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult, eh? And especially now, cause for me, the one kid I thought maybe would give a chance is Saka, and just purely because he's a bit more direct, and I think that's what we've been calling out for at the
Mm,
moment. Is that
mm,
one of the reasons why I think we've also been struggling with creativity is that our build up is a bit too slow and our passing is a bit too safe.
mm,
And we don't look to, and our wingers don't look to get behind the wing backs or the fullbacks, the opposing fullbacks. They tend to like getting the ball short, turning, dribbling past the
yeah.
man, and we don't see those, especially like in the Wenger type, sorry, in the Wenger years, and also early on in the Unai Emery years, is that in the Unai Emery stint rather, is that we're not seeing now our fullbacks overlapping, getting into those spaces. We're not seeing our wingers, playing on the shoulder of the opponent, trying to,
Yeah.
make getting in behind, looking for that through ball from the midfield that will get them in behind, and then they can square the ball in.
Mm,
We're not seeing a lot of the time. Willian wants to get the ball 2 feet, wants to turn, wants to try dribble the guy, and by the time they do that, the opposition is doubling up
yeah.
on them quite easily. Pepe also is the same. You hardly, and these guys have got pace, so it's not like they're slouches, but you
Mm,
never
mm,
see them
mm,
getting beyond. And the few times that you see getting beyond, we actually do create chances because
yeah.
with the few times you actually see K and Terry, let's say, overlapping, Bukanyi start coming short, KT overlapping, and then the ball being played through. We are creating chances. We are able to get the ball in box, and vice versa with let's say when Saka or Willian, whoever it is on the wing, whenever they actually start going beyond their man, and KT's got the ball and he tries the through ball. Sharp, it might not work 10 out of 10 times, but if you try it at least, if you try it 10 times and it works 5 times or
Mm,
4 times,
mm,
and you give it away the other 6 or 5 times, it's fine, because in the other instances, the other 4 times, chances are the ball will get into the box, and then and then that does create panic, or does move people around the box, and then we do get opportunities to score. Because for us, that is the best way we can play, and you can't rely on us crossing from the byline or crossing from deep to a target man in the middle, because our players, we don't really have a player that's got that aerial prowess, and we also don't get a lot of numbers in the box. So with us, it's more about speed and intrinsic, and it has to be intrinsic. It has to be quite precise, and with that, you can only get that
yeah.
by moving the ball quickly and moving people out of position, and then being able to play the ball rather than just lumping the ball into the middle and saying that my Aubameyang is going to outmuscle this
Yeah.
defender. So if it's a semi-decent ball and he's marked, I trust him to overpower this guy and be able to get an
Yeah.
effort on target. None of our players can do that. It's
But
not like you're lumping the
that actually
ball,
brings up a
and
few
whether
points.
he's marked
So
or not, he can
we're
score.
not
Yeah,
playing through. We're not playing through. We're not playing through balls, so allowing, let's say, Pepe and William to get around the defenders, which is
yeah,
key. And I think that's where Aubameyang thrives, to be fair.
yeah,
And the other part
exactly. And
is we don't have the guy drawing men. Like I felt Pepe should be that guy. Or even Willian, I think he could have been perfect. Like
Yeah.
for
But
me, it
also,
looks like Saka
but
is the guy that draws the men and releases a pass. And also
yeah,
our pass fluidity, it's not fast enough,
yeah,
and
that's
our
what,
touches
yeah.
were poor. But like the one thing we can comment on those, but the one thing I wanted to also mention was your take on Willian and his role in the team and what you're feeling about what he's bringing. Because to be fair, he's been poor, touches have been a bit short, but I really don't know the role he's playing. So maybe you can just
No, I
comment on.
don't know. I don't know either. I even questioned that transfer right off the start. I was like, I can maybe get it if we give him a 2-year contract max
Yeah,
or a 1 year. For me, I was saying 1 year with a year option to extend. For me, would be max, and that would purely be because you just want him to mentor some of these youngsters. As I said, you Reece Nelson, Bukayo Saka,
yeah,
Martinelli when he's back fully fit, Ainsley, Eddie. Oh no, maybe not Eddie. Eddie will be mentored by the two strikers, the other two senior strikers we've got. But that's what I thought his role would be, and I never saw him as a 10 because a lot of people initially when they were like, no, this guy is gonna come in and play 10 for us. He might solve our creative problem, but he's not really that tough. He's not the tough player to get the ball in the middle, find
mm,
that pass, dribble, get the ball in the middle, drive, and beat a few players, and then lay off the ball. So yeah, I honestly, right now, obviously his role, it seems like he's playing on the wing, but he's not really offering anything different to what we currently have or what we currently had
yeah,
at the end of last season. And I honestly think we could have used that resource better in terms of um, look maybe to find someone else, and we could use those wages that we're paying William to get a different player who could maybe provide us with that creativity rather than getting a jack of all trades who can cover multiple positions. And the only add-on that he really brings out is actually his experience. There's no real quality difference between what we had at that time, and him. So, and I honestly think that he is limiting the growth of some of these other youngsters. He's limiting the chances of Saka. He's limiting the chances of your Reece Nelsons, um, etc. And I would rather see us giving those kids a lot more game time, aiding their development, building up their confidence, and making sure that they are ready-made players in a season or two's time. Rather than now where we're talking about should we be loaning Reece Nelson off. We talk about Bukayo Saka not getting as many games as I think he should be getting, and he's being reduced to a bit part player playing Europa League and having the odd substitute appearance here or there in the Premier League. Joe Willock barely featured in the Premier League this season. I think this was probably his first start um, this whole season in the Premier League, and he's barely come off the bench either as well. So yeah, look, that one, as I said, it was a bit of a strange-ish one to me, especially the length of the contract as well, being a 3-year contract for me was a
yeah,
bit bizarre. If it was like, as I said, if it was a year with a year extension, I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Just get him in there, just to make sure that he mentors some of the kids, And obviously, if we do have an injury crisis, he is there for that. And then yeah, just get through this season, and then after that, then we can buy more players. But yeah, looks like he's going to be here for a while. Now, honestly, yeah, only because he can only wane from here. It's not like he's a young player. He's only going to get stronger. He's on the decline, So yeah, I think we're going to be stuck with another Özil or Mustafi type situation or Papa situation with him where he's got a year, he's got 2 years. We can't move him off our wage bill because no one wants to pay his high wages. He doesn't want to move because no one will give him those high wages, and we can't really sell him as well. There's no resale value, so it's one of those where we're gonna find ourselves in that position. Hopefully we won't, but I can already foresee that happening in the future. But yeah, look, I mean, whilst he's still an Arsenal player, I will continue supporting. I hope that he will be able to deliver the minerals, and this is hopefully just the 7 game dip rather than what his Arsenal career is going to be like. Because I think the only game he really played well in was that Fulham match. But besides that, he's been delivering quite subpar performances. But also, I mean, you could also say that the rest of the squad has been delivering this subpar performance. I don't know, I'm talking about your midfield and your attacking players. So I hope it's more a case that it's maybe just this thing that the rest he's going through what the whole squad is going through, and that they will improve rather than that this is the level that they're going to be playing at throughout the whole of the season.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a tough one because you expect a lot more from these guys, and we hope that he was going to bring what we needed. You know what was lacking, but yeah, Ish, I don't know, William. I'm still touch and go. I only saw the
I
Fulham
don't.
game, and then after that, it was just downhill from there. And now I'm just so skeptical. And now with Pepe out, looks like he's going to be starting, and now Lacazette also.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It looks like it's a catch-22 there. It's like, what do we
The
do?
Pepe didn't do himself any favors with that red card.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how Arteta plays it. Is he gonna? Because I mean, obviously we've got. I think in his mind he probably wants to discipline him and not play him for the
yeah,
next match. Let's say. Obviously he's out for the rest of the. He's out for the next 3 matches right, in the league. But I'm
mm.
talking about now Europa and stuff.
Open.
I think probably you would. I think ordinarily he probably wouldn't play him tomorrow and punish him. But I reckon he'll probably be forced to play him just purely because we don't have the numbers
Yeah,
at the
that's the
moment.
other
So it's going
thing.
to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. Is he going to just say, you know what, ordinarily I wouldn't play you tomorrow, but I'm going to have to play you now because one, we're short of numbers. Two, you're not going to play in the league anyway. So I want to give you a chance and see what you can
Yeah,
deliver, or if he's going to ostracize him like he has ostracized the likes of Guendouzi after they also had clashes with or had disciplinary
yeah.
problems, and whether he's going to go there, or whether he's going to accept his apology that he's obviously given out and say, you know
I
what,
think
all is forgiven.
we also in tough
Let me
times
give
with
you
like
another
the red
chance. Yeah,
zone, with the red zone
yeah,
and their fatigue and injury. And I think
yeah,
having
yeah, yeah.
these kind of non-negotiables is fine, but sometimes you gotta. I'm not saying cave in, but now we're at a point where like you don't know what's happening. I think Klopp even said it's like the rules were designed for a non-COVID situation. Now we're in a
Yeah,
time where we're playing a lot of football. Maybe the five sub rule should have stayed. Maybe the water break
yeah.
should have stayed. Just
Should
to
have stayed.
allow these
Yeah,
guys to rest for a bit. But now we're in full blown. We have a manager that if he doesn't like you, he might not play you. If he doesn't like the way you behave, he might not play you. But now he's at a point where, look, I have no choice. I need to play these boys,
yeah.
and they need to be able to perform. And the other thing was, do you think it's just a lot of tactical maneuvers that they have to play? Because the way Arteta plays defensively is very tactical, off the ball marking, moving players into different positions, and then obviously
Mm.
going forward, he changes the formation. Now, do you think as a player it becomes, especially 60, 70 minutes in, you're running hard, you're getting pressed the whole game, is your concentration levels, is it a lot harder now to try and keep doing these tactics, keep moving the ball, trying to find these ways? Then, as you said, the natural abilities to, like, let's say, take a player on, then try look for the pass or pick the pass, and they're not,
Yeah,
because of all of these kind of complications with the game or tactical ways they want to play, they're not as free, and it becomes a bit difficult. Like using Pepe, for example, when under Emery, it was a bit more free to do some things, even at the beginning of Arteta's reign or in Europa. But when it comes to like a Leeds, for example, he was very tactical in what he wants to do, but he didn't look comfortable. So I'm not too
exactly. Yeah.
sure if I know it can work, but is it too much at such a short time, or should have eased it in? It looks like it's working defensively, but attacking, it looks like we can't transition fast enough with the tactics he wants us to
Yeah.
play. So how are you feeling about what the changes and the tactics, and also is it really working or we're not complementing it?
So the things that, and it's a tough one, because I think Arteta wants to transition quickly. I think, yeah, he wants to, but I don't think the personnel he's got allows him to. The midfield he's got doesn't allow him to transition quickly. The guys are not quick on the ball. They're not able to beat players. They don't move the ball out. They're very safe in the way that they like. They never try. They never try a probing ball or a risky pass. That's 50-50. if it comes off, at least I'm losing the ball in our final third, and we've got space. You know, they rather just play a short 10-meter pass, safe pass. You know, that's on. And I don't know whether that's also purely because they don't want to try a risky ball because they're afraid if they lose it, they're not good enough to recover. And because that's been happening a lot in the past, where you know, like Xhaka will try something, lose the ball, and then he doesn't have the legs to get back, and we concede. So I don't know whether Arteta's told them, look, don't, whatever you do, make sure you don't lose the ball. I'd rather you keep it ticking over, you know, rather than trying something and lose the ball, and maybe we end up conceding a chance, you know. So that could also be maybe the message that they're getting and why they're also not able to transition the ball quick or play the more riskier pass over and above them just also not being naturally athletic players and being able to get up and down the pitch as quickly as some of the predecessors or some of the players we used to having at Arsenal were. And then also another thing is that obviously that we play Arteta, I think, has been emphasizing getting a lot of numbers in the box. So if you look at how we've been defending of late, we always when teams get, like, let's say, get to the byline or get the ball, we always seem to defend. And in our box, we usually tend to have about 7 players. If you look at, it's usually like our back 4, and then you'll have usually also the midfield duo in there, and then you'd have just maybe on the edges of the box Aubameyang and Pepe, and then maybe have and then we'll have like Lacazette occupying the deep lying midfielder of the opposition, you know. And already with that, even when we win the ball, our starting positions are too deep, you know, because all of our players are literally in our last third, and when we try to break, we actually got too much ground to make up, and our players starting from deep. And for me, that allows a lot of the opposition players to be able to actually get back. And by the time our attack, when we break, and by the time we start getting to the middle third and last third, our opposition players are actually able to get a lot of their numbers back. You know, because actually initially they would probably already have 2 to 3 players that are left alone. We will usually leave, like, let's say, the 2 centre backs of the opposition unoccupied because our striker will actually occupy the midfielder. And then our wing backs, our wingers will occupy their wing backs. So when we break, we already at a disadvantage in that it's half of the time it's already like it's only a 5-on-3. So it's like a 5-on-3 situation or 4-on-3 situation. And that requires us to be a lot more intricate than we have been in the past to actually be able to beat those players. You know, we have to be either intricate with our runs or intricate with our passes. And in the past, recently we've been unable to do that. So I think maybe if we said, okay, you know what, let's play a bit further out. Let's not tuck in so deep and be concerned about defending our box. Xhaka, get a bit further up. Get outside. Start defending from outside of our box. Stand at the top of the D or further out, and make sure that you engage their midfielders up there, so that actually when we do win the ball, you're further beyond, and that would allow Aubameyang, Lacazette to get further up the pitch as well, and him actually occupying their defenders rather than actually occupying their midfielders. And I think with that tweak might aid us. But I don't know whether Arteta's made that tweak purely because he's afraid that Xhaka and them aren't mobile enough that if they do get beaten in those positions further up when we're defending, that they'll be able to recover and get and collapse back into the box. You know, if they start at the top of the middle third or at the top of our box, because when you actually look at him, when you look at, like, when you're defending cross and stuff, where Xhaka is, half of the time he's standing next to the centre backs and Ceballos is there next to him as well. We've literally most of the times we will have like 3 players in our box, but they're marking. There's only 1 player to be marked. There's no need to have that many players. You know what I'm saying? We'll see Xhaka in the box, but he's not really marking anyone. Well, Holding is not marking on. Only Gabriel is really picking up someone, and then maybe and he's also being covered by one of the fullbacks as well, in case like sweeping up behind him. And for me, that's too many. That's too many men. You know, I think guys need to be trusted that, you know what, only one guy would maybe sweep up in our box. The rest of you guys pick men. If they're no men, go find a man, you know, to go pick up. You know, if they've got a deadly striker who's good in the air, Gabriel, you pick up the striker. Holding, you sweep up, and then the wing backs must pick up wherever else is in the box, and then the midfielders must push up and pick up their midfielders and track the runners if they are coming from midfield and track those midfield runners. And with that, I think it will. I think that would aid us when we do win the ball to be able to break more effectively, because our starting positions will be a lot higher. Then rather than just having men who are occupying spaces in the box because they're trying to make as little space for the opposition as possible, conceding shots from range, which is what we're actually doing now, is that we concede a lot of shots from top of the box, and that is quite dangerous. You saw with Leeds, we were lucky. They hit the box, they hit the pole quite a few times, and they got a lot of close shots from distance. I'm not talking about they're hitting 40-yard screamers. They were hitting shots from 18 to 20 yards. They're hitting shots from 18, and for me at that level, you shouldn't be allowing that to happen. You should be picking up those men.
And we weren't even allowed that on that side, you know.
We never get allowed those chances. There's no team that allows guys to be taking shots like that from the top of the box like we do, and which is why we concede so many shots. If you look at it, we let. It seems to me that Arteta is saying, "Look, I don't want you guys to have space to leave space in the box, collapse in the box, and then allow teams to shoot from range or try to close the shots from range." And I don't think it's working out. And guys like Xhaka are getting found out, and they're gonna start getting scapegoated again when teams actually start firing those in, because people will be like, why is Xhaka in the box picking up no instead of closing the shot? You know what I'm saying? So, and that is an issue that I also foresee happen. And I think that issue will solve both our defensive elements in terms of we won't allow as many shots, and our attacking elements, is that when we actually do win the ball, our players, I think, will be in more advanced positions and be able to break. So I think we just fear conceding goals so much, and we too oriented. Our mindset is more about not conceding goals rather than actually playing
ball
to create chances and score. And score
and
goals,
actually move forward. Transition from our third to their third is very slow. You know, especially in the midfield, we're not transitioning fast enough. Without Luis there's not a lot of long ball activity. I know Xhaka tries here and there, but if you
Xhaka,
never gonna
but
be able
he
to
doesn't, he won't try it. Xhaka will maybe play like one or two long, like probing passes in a match. You know, David Luiz, yes, he looks for them a lot more, but also his ones for me are a lot lower percentage balls. But he tries them. But they are a lot lower percentage than a Xhaka pass would be, because Xhaka's a much further up the pitch, you know. Whereas with Luiz, he's most of the time he's usually trying to find Aubameyang, or let's say one or the other winger, with those probing balls, and they from far. He's hitting them from sometimes the top of his box or the edge of our final third, and looking for Aubameyang in their final third. And a lot of the times, these guys are good enough to be able to retreat back and be able to deal with those type of balls.
Especially because we don't have the versatility. It's not like we're playing through the center,
exactly. And also with those balls, right? We don't have the midfielders that, even if like the opposition heads the ball away, we're not picking up the second ball, because Xhaka's not going to be up there picking up that ball in the middle. Bias is not going to be there either, picking up that ball in the middle. So it's one of those where if it comes off, it'll come off, but it'll only come off 1 in every 10 opportunities. The others, even when it does get headed away, we don't have the numbers in the midfield to pick up the loose ball and be able to actually play further up the pitch, you know. And which I think is the benefit of playing those long balls, that if you do go play them and you've got a mobile midfield, you can always win the second ball. You know, even if
Mm.
Uba doesn't win the
Yeah,
ball,
exactly.
yeah, they always win the second ball. And then when you do win the second ball, you're in the final third already. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
you're there most of the time, and therefore, and that for me, that can negate the lack of creativity in the middle. And that it's a lot more boring. Yes, it is lumpy football, but when you're lumping it, and the guys are squeezing up.
Mm.
Therefore,
Definitely.
they can actually win the middle. But we don't. I don't think Arteta trust, or our players don't trust themselves
Yeah,
that
they're
they can
very
actually
fixed
get up
in
there.
where they need to.
Yeah, they can't. They don't trust their mobility in that they can
Mm.
actually get up there and win the second ball. And then half the time they actually end up standing back, and then it's easy for the opposition midfield to just win, pick up the ball, and then come back at us. You know. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I've noticed that a lot. And it makes sense why you play two up front at times for those kind of like tactics, you know. And but we
Yeah.
never ever picking up the loose ball. And I've noticed that more so than before. So just before we end, just last two questions. So we got two big games. Okay, look, the previous two games was Villa and Leeds, and it wasn't great performances. Now we
Yeah.
got Wolves and Tottenham coming up, and obviously Europa in between, but we know where our focus is. It's Wolves and Tottenham. What do we need
Yeah.
to get something out? What do we need to get the 3 points there? And then obviously when you move on from that, talk a little bit about, let's talk some happiness here. You know, we've been talking a lot of
I don't know
disappointment.
how we're gonna get. I don't know how we're gonna get any points in those games. But look, I think the one thing that could change is maybe that we just need to be a bit more aggressive and want it a bit more. And I think that, and trust ourselves a bit more, trust ourselves in the tackle, trust ourselves that we can press a guy and not get beaten and get exposed. You know, rather than playing seven, that look, I actually won't press this guy because I'm afraid that he will beat me and I will get exposed. You know, turn it around and said, actually, I won't get beaten and get exposed. So as soon as we actually play with a lot more urgency and take a lot more risks, I think we are always and play a bit more off the cuff. We are always I think we're a better side.
Mm,
Um, so I think that needs to be, I think, the mentality maybe in those games. If we want to say, Arteta needs to G the boys up and say, look, it's okay if you make a mistake. Press
yeah,
these boys. So go for that pass. Oh, sorry, go for that pass. Go for that tackle. You know, if he beats you, so be it. He's beaten you. You know, but I'd rather you actually go for it and try win those balls further up the pitch. Um, and by that, we will actually think be in a better position to create a chance and say, you know what, actually, rather play safe, collapse, make sure we get numbers behind the ball and try to not concede. And I think that's the only way we will win those games. Just try to be the protagonist and try to be a bit more riskier in
controller.
the way we play, rather than because I mean getting draws out of these games, which is the way we've been playing, is I think the only feasible results we can get is that
Yeah,
we'll probably end up drawing. The best results out of the way we're playing that we can get is is probably two draws in these two matches coming up, and for me that's not good enough. um, Arteta, I think, needs to win at least one, if not both of these matches that are coming up. And for me, with that, I think he needs to take a few more risks in these matches. Um, and yeah, I think that. So I think he needs to go for it, go again with the 4-3-3. Yes, we got a red card. We didn't win the last match, but I think I'd say you must try it again.
yeah,
Hopefully, Bakayo Saka is fit. Let's play him on the left wing. Put Aubameyang up top. Play Willian. Look, we can only play Willian at the moment on the right wing. Play Willian over there, and then maybe let's try Joe Willock there again in the middle. Or if El Nani is recovered from
yeah,
COVID, push Sabias into the number 10 and tell him, don't come deep to collect the ball. Stay up there,
yeah,
and stay in that pocket, and then at least with that, then let's see how it happens. I'm saying let's see what happens and ask and urge the boys to press. Tell Xhaka that it's fine. You've got a guy with legs next to you in El Neni. Because I don't think Thomas Partey will be fit by then. But yeah, you've got a guy with legs in El Neni. Be more expressive. Try to
yeah.
push more. Try to probe that forward pass a lot more, knowing that even if you do concede position, lose ball, you've got a guy next to you who can probably
Mm,
sweep up
mm,
for you and carry you. And I think that's the only way we can maybe create a lot much. But because if we're gonna let guys if you're gonna sit deep and let these guys take shots from range and control the ball like we've been in these past few minutes, you're gonna get hammered.
Yeah.
You can't afford to be giving Son and Kane the chances we've been giving a lot of these teams from outside the box. You're gonna get punished. You
Yeah.
can't do the same with Wolves and some of those silky Portuguese men that they've got there. You can't let Neves
Yeah.
get those chances. They're gonna. You can't let Jean Martin have that much of the ball. They're gonna punish you. Yeah, and you can't let them shoot from range like we've been letting
Yeah,
these
it's
guys do now.
two
We're gonna get
difficult
slaughtered.
games, and it looks like we have to change a lot in order to, if we're going to get results here. But like as I was saying,
Yeah,
like we were talking a little bit of happy points, but Gabriel and Partry, man, like how much have they brought to our team? I know we're still lacking in certain areas, but they
yeah,
are a bit of light that comes in a dark time.
yeah. And look, and
You know,
and the thing
Saka's
is
the
that
shining light,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Gabriel being
So
solid,
yeah,
Partry being decent as well.
I mean, from what you've seen of Party, he is he's class, and it's just, the only shame is that we needed Party probably 3 years ago.
Mm,
3 years ago he would have had the players around him that he would have thrived, and it would have been a much because he would have had the creative
mm,
nous around him for him to be, for him for us to be able to get the best out of him defensively and offensively, and yeah, it's good having him now, but I think we just need to strengthen. We can't rely on him alone at the moment. I mean, we're talking about El Neni now as if he's like a star again, but it's not purely because he's good. I don't think he's good enough yet. It's purely because there's no other athletic option in our
yeah,
team
it's
in
a
midfield,
worker,
and
and he moves.
and we and we're now willing to accept semi-decent players who probably wouldn't,
Mm,
who in the past we'd be like, if we sold, we'd be like, what, good riddance. But
mm,
now, just purely out of the lack of quality, athletically, I think, not even creatively, because he's not even that good creatively, El Neni, or that good with his passing. Just athletically and defensively, he's able to at least get around the park for us to be comfortable that we won't concede every time we lose a ball. You'll be able to recover
mm,
mistakes.
mm.
Um, but anyway, with that, Gabriel also same story. Great kid, still makes a few mistakes here and there, but purely because there's a lack of quality around him that he's shining because he's not doing any. I don't think he's doing anything
Yeah,
particularly well. His passing is not that great. If you actually look at it, him, he's not phenomenal. He's just a good
that's the
centre back.
basic.
But
Well, yeah,
purely because we don't have good centre backs,
yeah,
he's looking like a
and he's
star.
also a
But
bit
if
commanding.
you
I
look,
like that part about it.
and yeah, he's commanding, but he's still a kid. I
Yeah,
still don't think anywhere near the level that he's gonna get to in the future.
mm,
This Gabriel for me is not as good as what I think he can be. I think he's still got another in about 3 to 4 years time. That's when I think this guy is gonna be class. Because as I say, he still needs to work on his passing. Still gives away quite a few balls. Whenever he tries that probing pass, whenever he tries the David Luiz pass, he gives
it
the ball
doesn't
away.
work.
He still doesn't have that in his locker
Yeah,
yet,
yeah, I've
right?
noticed that.
He still gets caught out sometimes positionally as well. And you expect that. He's a kid, you
Mm,
know. But
mm,
the mere fact for me that even with those faults, he's still head and shoulders better than anything we've got at the back for me is an indictment of the players we've got and the recruitment that we've had in the club in the past. And for me, I think we need for me, he should be the standard of our defenders. So we should be getting players like him or better.
yeah,
Not saying that this is the gold, not saying that this guy is the gold standard and he's our Van Dijk and we will never get anything better than him. No. For me, he should be like the start and we
yeah,
should be trying to build and get better players than him going forward. But yes, he's been a breath of fresh air, and to be quite honest, he's overplayed in my opinion in terms of that. I didn't expect him to be playing this many games and for him to
yeah,
be this integral to our team. But now he's undroppable. And if you had to probably pick a player of the season right now, he would be our player of the season. To be quite
yeah.
honest with you. And for me, that
Three man of the
that
matches
that
already,
that for me, as I said, it's good that I think he's that we actually for once bought what seems to be a good player in the transfer market, and who I think, despite his good performance, I think he's nowhere near where his best, and he's still got a
Mm.
lot of room to improve. But on the flip side, it's just an indictment of the quality of players that we've been recruiting in the past and the quality of players we've got in our age book. So the kid coming from France who's still learning his trade can rock up to our centre back and be so much better than what we've seen in the past few seasons. Yeah, it's actually quite shocking. But good on the kid though, and I hope that he can carry on churning out these performances that he has. Look, I mean, the Leeds game for him was probably one of his worst performances, and it actually wasn't that bad if you actually look
Yeah.
if you look at. But you
Holden
know what I'm saying?
supported him quite well, man.
Compared to some of the shocking defensive displays we've seen from our centre backs, for
Yeah.
that to be considered one of his bad games, where he barely made really any. I think I saw him only really getting dribbled past once, and then Holding was there to recover him in the second half.
Mm.
But besides that, we didn't really see him make any glaring mistakes that led to a key opportunity at goal. A lot of the mistakes he made, he was able to recover from them, or someone was able to
Mm.
to sweep up for him. So yeah, man, I'm just as I say, I just hope that the kid can carry
It
on
definitely is
growing
a
from strength,
fresh air.
can carry on growing, man, and yeah, and move from strength to strength.
Yeah. And at least, yeah, and it's a breath, as I said, it's definitely, as you said, a breath of fresh air compared, considering the last few weeks. We got a big few weeks ahead of us. But yeah, before we go, we got tomorrow, we're playing Europa, you know. I think we stuck with Thursday football for a while. So
Yeah.
yeah. What do you make of that game? Any predictions or lineups you'd like
No,
to
look, man,
us?
it'll depend. Yeah, it'll depend on the lineup that Arteta picks. Um, if he goes with a very young and inexperienced lineup, we could be in for a long day, you know. And I reckon we could probably even lose that match. But
Mm.
yeah, I wouldn't really mind. I'd say seeing us going down in that match, if let's say we Arteta's trying new things, he's trying. You know, if I see that, okay, you know what, he's blooding some of these youngsters. He's trying to see what can I get out of Florent Bellugan.
Mm.
Is he an option? You know, trying out Joe Willock again in those advanced positions, trying out Pepe and giving him the freedom to
Mm.
play. Maybe even playing a few of the older players that are lacking a lot more. Sorry, that are lacking some of that confidence, and getting them to play in a more aggressive and in a more expressive way. I'd be happy to see that. But if he goes there and bloods youngsters, and it's a whole host of, like, you see your Azizas, your Cottrells, playing your Emil Smith Rose. I mean, he gives those a lot of those guys more of a chance and rest some of the key players, and we go on and lose. I wouldn't really be too downhearted with that if
Oh.
those kids actually, but if those kids play well, if you know
Mm.
what I'm saying, if they actually are able to be a bit more riskier, play a bit more off the cuff, and just create a bit more excitement, you know. I think for me, it's just now in this trophy is about blooding the youngsters and also boosting the confidence of some of these senior players maybe that might be lacking confidence. But then some people might turn around and say, look, you only boost confidence by winning games rather than performances. But I also think that a performance rather than a result in a game like this would be, for me, more important in terms of the
Yeah.
players performing well and maybe being unlucky and losing unluckily. But then we can say, look, you created 20 chances.
Yeah.
Yes, you didn't take them, but you guys can actually create. You know what I'm saying? So let's build on that. Let's build on that. The chances will,
Mm.
the goals will come if we are creating chances. You know.
And on the
So,
last
so
point,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm hoping to see a lot. I'm hoping that Arteta is able to blood. I'm hoping to see youngsters with experience that is struggling to find form. That's the lineup I'm trying to look at. I'm hoping we'll go
Yeah.
with tomorrow. So I'm hoping that we will either play up top, play Eddie, or Laka, because I just think they could do with a good
Some games.
some momentum, some confidence, some
Yeah.
goals, you know. And then obviously try some things maybe in the middle, try a more dynamic midfield or a more creative midfield. Try Pepe and say, look, man, I forgive you. Uh, just now it's just about building your confidence. Here you go. Here's an easy team. I won't give
Yeah.
you a lot of defensive responsibilities. Just go and express yourself. let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping to see tomorrow, and I'm hoping to see a more attacking. I'm hoping to be entertained by Arsenal again, because at the moment, it's quite difficult watching our games, purely because not that we lose in games or not, but it's purely that we're not creating anything,
Yeah,
and
we're not as attacking as we'd like.
we're not playing fluidly. There's
Yeah.
no fluidity
Europa is a
our
bit more exciting, to be fair, when we play.
yeah.
At least he's scoring there. But the one thing that's another big positive is Martinelli's back in training. And how big is
Yeah,
that for us?
yeah, it's big, but when is he gonna play? It takes time.
Another
I'm
thing.
not expecting to see him anytime soon. I only expect to see him probably in the new year, maybe FA Cup. I reckon. For me,
Mm,
he's the guy penciled in for those New Year's Day fixtures or those 3rd of January FA Cup games, that we always play.
yeah, yeah.
The weekend post New Year or something like that. So as much as I'm excited to see him, I wish he was ready now. You
Yeah,
know what
no.
I'm saying? I
We
wish he
need
could. I wish
something
he could.
like what
I
he
wish
offers
we could
now.
already. I wish we could already throw him in to the FA. I mean, sorry, into the Europa League and the League Cup matches that we've got up coming up, to build
Mm,
this confidence and that by the time Christmas came, he's ready and he's far. He's already starting to look like his old
mm,
self. And by the time January comes around, he's firing on all cylinders, or relatively firing on most of his cylinders. And he's a player who can, like, because he is a talent, and I think he's got a lot to offer the squad. It's just that I think I'm just afraid that by the time he's ready to go, it's going to be March, and it's going to be a bit
season's
it's going to be
over.
a bit late. The season might already be pretty much over for us by then, or unsalvageable at that time. So yeah, I just hope that the kid can get on the pitch as soon as possible, and recover
Yeah.
quickly
I
and
think
be
we
back
all
to
miss
his
him,
best
man.
and be able to play. Because him and Bukayo Saka
Hey,
were really, really top class.
yeah,
Um, and I think we're really lacking some of their direct attacks.
yeah.
Their fearlessness in terms of making that run up front, getting into the box, probing those
What
channels.
is nice
You
about them,
know,
they also grew every time they played. Like when they ran
mm,
too much, the next game they'll know when to stop and pass.
yeah,
That's what I liked about them. Whereas I thought Warlock and Reese, we complain about the same things that they do. They
yeah,
just overrun it,
yeah,
never know when to
overrun the
stop
ball,
the pass. And
and
I've noticed
exactly,
Saka, he's gotten so much better. He picks that pass now. He knows when to hit it, knows when
yeah.
to run. And
And look, yeah, Saka's decision making in the final third is a lot, and that's one thing that really is disappointing, especially with Willock. His decision making is so poor
mm,
in the final third. You know, when he passes, he should have shot. When he shoots, he should have passed.
yeah,
When he tries to
exactly.
dribble, he should have passed, or he should have looked for a certain type of ball. You know, so and that's the thing. I was whereas with those youngsters, for me, I think they, in terms of their acumen and their craft, and their intelligence up front, they're a lot smarter, and their decision making is a whole
Mm,
lot better in those positions. And also their finishing, even though yes, Saka did miss a one-on-one the other day, but I generally tend to think that their finishing they're a lot more clinical when
yeah,
it comes in those areas, especially Martinelli. I think Martinelli, before he got injured, was a much better player than Bukayo Saka.
yeah.
Um, for me, he
He
was
was
the
in.
more finished. For me, he was the more finished article. Whereas Bukayo Saka, you could see him growing more game by game. But with Martinelli, he hit. For me, he hit the ground
Yeah,
running.
that first goal, I think he
He
scored that
already looked
header, that crazy header.
like he already looked like an accomplished striker. He could score with his left foot, right foot, good in the air, makes good runs, can dribble, can hold the ball up, can get in behind as well. So I just hope that his confidence hasn't been knocked with the injury, and that he hasn't lost his pace, which is very
Yeah,
difficult. And I think with us as fans, we need to be patient with him and realize that it's going to take some time before he gets to anything close to his best. I mean, if you look at Hector Bellerin, who suffered a similar type injury, he's only really starting to look like a good footballer again now,
yeah.
or approaching those levels that he was pre his
Mm.
injury now, and that's the thing, that these things
But
can take some players up to 6 months,
Yeah.
from when they return. It can take them up to 6 months until they start looking like the player they were pre that injury.
Mm,
And
mm.
yeah, hopefully, but I'm hoping, he will be a bit quicker, that it'll only take him a month or two. But,
Yeah.
chances are he won't. And if it does happen, that it takes him some time, we also need to just be patient with him and make sure that we don't heap a lot of pressure and expectation on him too early.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, 100%. Gotta make sure we get that boy right and we play him at the right times. We wouldn't want it to happen again because he's still young in
Yeah.
his career and you wouldn't
He's
want to
still,
jeopize
yeah.
him. But
Yeah. You don't want another
Nqobile,
Black Bulls on our hands. Yeah.
it's always great, man. Always insightful talking to you after so long. We're
Yeah,
back,
man.
and I'm gonna catch you for the next few games because games are coming thick and fast. So yeah, definitely have you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure. Uh, it was missed. I think we both needed to vent a bit about Arsenal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we got our weekly or
I thought
like
I took it.
5 days.
I took it easy. There's a lot of things I could have complained about, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm just hoping. I just hope people keep the faith in Arteta. I think he's
Yeah,
still learning. You must allow him the opportunity to make the mistakes. But I also hope for his sake he's not stubborn and that he
he
is
grows
able
from
to
these kind of mistakes
grow
that he.
from this NBA and that he makes the changes that we all are crying out for, and
Mm,
that we can
mm.
all that he's able to, rather than be stubborn and stick to his ways, rather be able to actually compromise and be like, you know what, actually let me try something new. You know, yeah, just for his sake as well. Because I
Yeah, no,
think, as I'm saying, a lot of
100%.
people are starting to blame him for this, whereas I think that a lot of the
Yeah,
things
social media.
he's also I think he's also limited by the personnel he has, and a lot of the tactics he's playing is purely because he doesn't trust the players.
Yeah, it's like he's
He
using
has,
like 80% of his book or 60% of his book because that's all he
yeah,
can really use and make the rest
yeah,
kind of fit in and work.
yeah,
Because as you said, and I think you highlighted it quite, he doesn't have the personnel in the areas that he requires or even reserves or anything of that sort. Like William,
yeah,
we thought was going to be a certain type of player and he didn't turn out. So now that creativity part is not there. He sorted out the
mm,
defense. To be fair, we look a lot better, but moving forward, that aspect hasn't changed. And as you said, it's not that these guys don't know what to do. They know what to do. They're just not maybe good enough or executing it 100 because
yeah,
our front line is world class. Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, even substituting William in there, even Saka in there. That's still really, really good front line. But between them, we don't have anything over 10 goals, I'll say,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it shows that we're not conceding goals, but we're also not scoring. And we have a
yeah,
good front line, we have a decent defense. So there's only one thing that's missing. It's the midfield.
yeah,
And I think Patry, I think it's unfortunately got injured so early, just the start of his like Arsenal playing time. So it was a bit unfortunate. Al Neni looks like a different player, to be fair. But I think it's now Willock and Ceballos' time to shine. They're the only ones that are going to be able to transition us better in that last third. And if it's not them, then to be honest, I really don't know who it is. Like it either has to be like Saka or William, and I feel they need a lot
yeah.
of ground to play with. Whereas a 10, you have to be able to play in a smaller playing field. You have to move the
Okay,
ball
yeah.
faster, get a better first touch. Williams' first touch against Leeds was very poor. Now, as a 10, you can't afford to have that kind
You
of
can't
first.
afford to have that. Exactly. Yeah.
So it is
There's no
difficult,
space.
but yeah, it's gonna be a rough. I think we don't have an international break till March, so yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
be.
thank goodness. I'm tired of those international breaks. But hopefully, as I'm saying, I'm just hoping Arteta can learn from some of the mistakes
Mm,
he's made and able to grow and just able to be a bit more positive and be a bit more courageous now, with the style of play and not fear conceding goals as much as he's been about, because I think that fear has led to him employing some of these
mm,
defensive and negative, so-called negative tactics that we've been playing. But I think it was just, for me, it was out of the necessity that he felt that, look, if we don't concede goals, we will be able to score. But now actually that philosophy has led us to not creating anything, and thus we
yeah,
can't concede, we can't score goals, and there's always now the chance that we might concede an unlucky one, and once we
yeah.
concede an unlucky goal, we can't recover from that because
Not
we
really
we
recover.
don't have we're not wired to
Also, do you think these last few
go out
months
and create.
we got one more month to be fair, it's almost December. Is this month he needs to see where we need personnel, or he kind of already knows that, or he needs to
Yeah, I
play.
think he kind of knows that, but yeah, he knows that. But I don't know how we don't traditionally buy a lot of players in January, and it's a difficult window to get value for money also in January. So I don't know if he is going to get backed in January. And you must also remember, it's a novice team, right? Edu is not really, he's not really renowned in the transfer market. We
Yeah,
don't, he's in that role he is, he's relatively new and he's relatively young. So he doesn't have that nous, he doesn't have that guy, he doesn't have that network to be able to, I think, pull off a lot of these deals, all that experience. Same with Arteta, he's still young, still trying to figure his way out. He's got a he's relatively, as you're saying, he's inexperienced and he doesn't really have the support around him. If you think about it, it's him and Edu pretty much slugging it out. The whole
yeah,
of the support structure around them was dismantled when we fired half of our scouting network, and also Raul Sanelli was fired, in my opinion, obviously. But with that, we fired also the chief scout as well. So if you look at the support structure, and we got rid of Dick Law, I think, as well. So we
yeah,
don't really have that support structure around them to be able to cover up for some of their inexperience, you know. So it's tough for them. They're literally on their own at the moment. And to be quite honest, I think we've heaped a lot of pressure on these guys, and we're expecting too much, too much from them, in
too
my
soon,
opinion.
maybe too much too
Yeah.
soon.
And yeah, I think they are being kind of left high and dry by our board and by our owners. And I think our owners also need to maybe bolster up some of the support structures
Yeah,
around them to make sure that these guys are given the adequate amount of support, like what Frank Lampard is receiving. But I mean, it takes time to build that,
yeah,
right? But we need to at least
definitely.
start making sure that we're putting those pieces together and taking away some of the responsibilities that Arteta. You can't give Arteta Wenger like responsibilities, which is what we've essentially given him. And I
Yeah,
think he's struggling.
especially
A
it's
lot.
his first
He's
job. He's
struggling because
like an intern,
his
and now
first
you're
job, you
permanent.
can't
You
exactly.
know.
You can't, and that's what we've done. Literally, we gave him that manager title, and we've given him Wenger type
I think
responsibility,
as
and
Swab as
he's not
Arteta
there yet.
is. Yeah,
For
no,
me,
definitely.
he's a coach. He's still trying to ply his trade, trying to find his style of play, find his management style. And for me, you should literally be taking away those responsibilities and just saying, look, you just coach the team,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we'll slowly build your responsibility base as you become comfortable with the role, and as as you realize what you need and what responsibilities you can take on. Then we'll start giving you those
Yeah,
responsibilities
I get you. I think he
to the
kind
other
of
people.
assumed that like I'm ready, but it's a stressful endeavor.
No, but you can't. But I mean, if your boss, it's difficult, right? If your boss says we're firing these people, um, and we're giving you the responsibilities, can you take
Yeah,
them?
I
It's very
suppose.
difficult to turn around and say, you know what, I'm actually not the guy for this job. You know, as much as
And especially
we
where he
will
is,
say
you'd be like, look,
as much
most
as people
coaches
will
take
say as a
so
fan,
long to get here. You
yeah,
know, look, I'm
as
already
much
here
as
in 3 months.
and as much as people will say, oh, but I mean, you the coach, you should be able to say, listen, I can't do this, or listen,
I know what
I
you mean.
don't have the right structure. A guy who's
They
working,
like make
walking,
it work, you know what I mean?
you're gonna say, yeah, a lot of the guys are gonna be yes men and say, look, yes, I can, I believe in
Yeah, yeah,
myself, I can do this. And most of the times, actually, you know what, it's a bit too much too soon for you. But
yeah,
also
exactly.
in your mind, you'd rather learn. A lot of people are taught to learn on the job and rather fail on the job, and learn. You'd rather say yes, I can take it on and fail, rather than say no, I can't do this,
Do you think
and
he
end up
suffered from like?
and then being found out that actually, you know what, this guy doesn't have confidence, or he
Do you think
doesn't.
he suffered from like maybe being too good too soon? Like, because he did so well just before the end of the season.
I think
They were
no. So
like, you know
yeah.
what, this
So
guy he can do everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and obviously the restructuring hasn't helped him, and he's been asked to assume
Yeah.
certain roles, which I think he couldn't say no to, because saying no to them would literally mean that, you know what, he has to walk
Yeah.
away, and I don't think he's in that position to say, you know what, you guys are not supporting, I'm not getting the right support here. I'm walking away. He's not in that position yet, I think. Or it's too early in his career for him to be able to do that. For me, he would rather be like, you know what? Let me take on the responsibility.
And then, yeah, you rather try and
He
fail.
doesn't know. He doesn't know. He's new. He doesn't know what he can and can't yet. He doesn't know what he can say yes or no to yet, I think. And therefore, anything that gets thrown in him, he's going to
it's
say,
like
you know what? Yeah,
when we
bring it on. I
started
can do
our
it.
job, you know what I mean? They're like, yeah, we're giving you more work. You're like, sharp, bring it.
Like, yeah, sharp, I can do this. Bring it, sharp. Or you don't know what you can and can't do yet.
And with
And you
him,
don't know
it's
what to say yes or no
structure.
to yet.
He's
And
involved
that's
in
the thing.
structure.
I don't think he's got that around him. So it's going to be a hard slog for him. And I just hope that the guys at the top realize this and they start assembling the support structures around him and bringing in some experience maybe around him to shield or take away some of that responsibility from him. Because at the moment we've let go of a lot of experience at the club with this restructure, with the COVID-19 restructure.
And legacy, like people that have been there for years too.
And legacy, and the people have been, some of them, yes, rightfully, we probably should have gotten rid of them. But then with that, we should have then found adequate replacement. But at the moment, we've gotten rid of them, and there's no replacement for them.
And I suppose this is what it
literally
is
living
when
it.
it comes to change, you know.
You're leaving it to three guys to pretty much run the club. Three inexperienced guys, and Vinay, Edu, and Arteta, to run the club. You know, and they for me, I think they've been thrust into that limelight, onto that spotlight too soon, and they don't really have the support structure. They haven't been correctly brought up to speed and phased in for them to be
no,
in the future. Maybe in 5 to 10 years, exactly, in 4 to 5 years time, probably yes, they would have been the right people to do it. But at the moment, you can't. I don't think we at that.
It's exciting and nervous times right now, you know.
They're not at the level yet for me. I feel to
100%.
to be able to run with those responsibilities. Yes, probably the future. Yes, three men can do that. Exactly, especially being in the transition period that we're in.
As well. And COVID, you know what I mean? Like,
so
all the best. No, that's a great point you brought up. Sorry to cut you off, man. My battery's about to.
No, but we have to. Yeah, we need to.
The other thing is, like, we can talk for days, but touching on that point, a lot of people don't see that, and the hierarchy and structure plays a vital role. And it's good that you brought that up. Thanks. But Nqobile, always a pleasure, man. Love having you on. Catch you soon in maybe tomorrow's game or Sunday's game. But yeah, it's Kish, Gunakast, Esther, it's Nqobile. We out.